Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, we are continuing our ongoing coverage of the Eritrean invasion of Tigray and the civil war in the former state of Ethiopia. So, today, we have been getting a lot of information coming in. Some of this information is false, and we're trying to figure out exactly what is happening on the ground. I will report that from the Abiy loyalist side, the Eritrean military side of the equation, they're reporting that they have entered the towns of Axum, Adwa, and Adigrat. So quite a significant movement of forces in a fairly short period of time, which would lead one to believe that the Tigrayan Defense Forces have made the decision to withdraw from many of these major cities in the north. We have indications that over the last several days, 20 to 50,000 Tigrayan Defense Force personnel have moved from towns such as Adwa and Adigrat towards the Kolatembian region. We know that even during the Ethiopian Civil War that took place from the mid-70s to 1991, the Tigray Defense Forces, one of the many rebel groups that were fighting the Derg, had their headquarters for that entire war, again, 70s until 91, just to the west of Hegir Salam. There are vast bunker complexes that exist to the northwest of Hegir Salam within the vicinity of Melfa. And I believe actually Melfa was the locale of the TPLF during the Ethiopian Civil War from 74 to 91. The Soviet-backed regime was never able to enter the Tenbian region. It was a no-go zone for the Derg regime. And that's where the command and control for what was tantamount to the Tigrayan Defense Forces then, where they were headquartered. During the 2020 to 2021 invasion of the Tigray region, the Tigrayan Defense Forces did the same thing. They retreated into the Kolatembian region, again, a vast area west of A2, areas that run from Adwa south along the Adwa Hagir Salam to Mekelle Road. And it would appear, again, that the Tigrayan Defense Forces are instituting much the same strategy that we saw in late 2020 and going into 2021. This is going to be a very tough challenge for the Eritrean military, the Abiy loyalist forces, to maintain control of all of this territory running along the A2 highway from Shire to Axum, Adwa, Adigrat, while at the same time keeping their forces fed and supplied in these areas. Keeping the Eritrean road from Eritrea down towards Shire open. Again, we've kind of seen this before. The Eritrean military, as I talked about in the previous episode, when focused on one task or one target, be it Axum, Adwa, what have you, with their use of tanks, armored fighting vehicles, heavy artillery, long-range rockets, tactical aircraft, strike aircraft, drones, what have you. They're able to attack, reduce, destroy, and seize control of a certain town, target, or city. But holding these areas is a completely different proposition, really outside the scope and capability of the Eritrean military and the Abiy loyalist forces. They may have the ability to take and seize control of a town, but again, holding it is where the real challenge comes in. Feeding its forces that are located in Shire, feeding its forces in Adidaro, feeding its forces and supplying them in Axum, Adwa, because they only control territory in which they have boots on the ground. And then those supply columns that are moving along these road networks are then going to fall prey to these counter operations by the Tigrayan Defense Forces. Eventually, much like we saw in 2020, 2021, the TDF is going to identify localized units of the Eritrean army. They will then envelop them and destroy them. Just like what was done in 2020 and 2021, and very much like what happened from the mid-70s on to 1991, which eventually drove the Derg regime out of Addis Ababa. But that's a whole other conflict. We're kind of in the here and now in terms of what's happening in the Tigray region now. So what's next? Does the Eritrean military press south from Adigrat along the A2 highway towards Mekelle? Does the Abiy loyalist forces operating south of Mechu near Korem, Alamata, do they then press north along the A2 towards Mekelle? We've also received reports that elements of the Eritrean army have been landing in Lalibela. The airbase is not in Lalibela, but further to the southwest. It's actually some distance from Lalibela, and this is the locale. There are reports that Ethiopian Airlines are transporting Eritrean forces to that airport, regular Eritrean army units. Get back out here. Here we go. But again, it looks like, at least on the surface, the Tigrayan Defense Forces have made the decision not to fight in these northern cities and are withdrawing to points elsewhere, specifically areas in the Tinbian region. 20 to 50,000 have already been moved, supposedly. TDF units continue to operate east of the A2 as well. And as we speak, there are calls for counterattacks and reports of plans that are underway by the Tigrayan Defense Forces to start to go after some of these Eritrean forces that have been left along the B30 highway, points near Shire, Axum, Adwa. History tends to repeat itself, and I think we're quite possibly going to see history repeat itself in regards to what we saw in 2020, 2021. But it will be interesting to see what happens if the Eritrean army decides to move down the A2 towards Mekelle. and did the Abiy loyalist forces then attempt a further push from the south towards Mekelle? So again, looking at a very much the same type of occupation that occurred in late 2020 into 2021. But we'll continue to monitor the report and bring you more information as we get it. Again, a lot of information is coming in right now. Some of it not true, some of it true. And it's just difficult to at this point, to decipher what is true and what is not true. But more to come. And as always, thanks for joining us today. Have a good day.